What is up, everybody? Welcome to a Sunday afternoon episode of the Run Your Mouth podcast. I hope you guys are having an excellent weekend. I've been having a good weekend. You know why? Summer Porch Tour, it's not officially started. It officially starts when we get out to Lady Lake, Florida to hang out with Clint, the Liberty Lockdown crew, Fat Dave, who's no longer Fat Dave. He lost all the weight and now he became offensively gay Dave. Listen, you got No Hey Jose. You got the Toad, who's going to be showing up with his ukulele, getting everyone else all in the move to rape him later in the evening. Everyone's getting AIDS. We're going to be shooting guns. So show the fuck up. But we did do preseason. We did preseason Summer Porch Tour. I was out in Jersey. I was yelling about how it's the native right of people in New Jersey to take steroids and get shredded at the gym. I stood up for medical freedom. I actually left my house and did something. It felt pretty good. I made a contribution to other than just yelling within the living room. But show the fuck up, dude. If you live in Florida or you can find a cheap enough flight, Sunday, or no, it's Saturday. Sunday, you got to go tell your mom that you love her. Even if you don't, you got to do it. You just got to, you make the phone call. Even if you're not showing up to a barbecue, you just say, Mom, you were really bad, but at least you pushed me out of your vagina. And at least that, like, you should at least thank her for that. I don't think it was that easy for maybe your mom's vagina is so large that you just plopped out and it wasn't difficult. And so she doesn't deserve that much of a thank you, but you can still give her a little thank you. And I want to be clear. I got a great mom. I wasn't trying to say that I got a mom that doesn't deserve thank yous for other things. I'm just saying, if you got a terrible relationship with your mom, you can at least thank her for plopping you out of her vagina. And that's not what I was trying to promote. I wasn't trying to promote thanking your mother. I don't have some sort of a sponsor for Mother's Day. I mean, you want to buy your mom You'll Kratom, maybe that'll help her out. Maybe if you got one of these crazy moms that's been crazy her whole life, it's just because she hasn't been taking kilos of Kratom, which is not a medical product. So I'm not telling you that would fix your mom. I'm not allowed to do that. But, you know, if she was into Kratom, maybe you got the coolest mom in the entire world. And that's all she does every single day. She just Kratoms it up. And she's like, I don't know how to pay these bills. I can't afford these Kratoms. Then you show up with the whole fucking kilo of it, literally a wheelbarrow, as if like at first she gets excited. She's like, hey, is my son going to fix the lawn? But really, you just got all those little pellets of Kratom in there. And then she's like, my God, this is incredible. Now I have money and I can afford to get back into smoking. This has been so much nonsense. This is no way to start a show. Do you have any idea how many news topics I wanted to cover? All I wanted to let you guys know is that if you're in the Florida region, the moment is upon you to buy your ticket and show up for the official opener of, which is going to be with the Tower Gang. Hopefully we don't have more internet problems because, you know, I'm flowing here. I'm trying to promote gigs. The internet's coming after me. All right, let's get into some news topics. Here's what we'll be addressing on today's episode. Producer man, cue that fancy news music that heightens the joke and lets people know that we're giving them serious news information. Dun, 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 dun. If Biden is forgiving student loans, who will forgive the sin of the savers who made the mistake of paying for their kids' educations? Think of all the vacations they could have had taken with their wives, the dinners they could have had, the jewelry they could have bought. God, these people fucked up. The needless stress, all those evenings where you're like, honey, I can't afford it. That's not a holy union in the eyes of the Lord, where you're making the mistake of paying for colleges that you didn't need to pay for. You could have been doing all sorts of nice things together, but you squandered on your kids' education. Who's going to forgive that sin, Joe Biden? Next up, will the Truth Ministry speak out against the materiality of ESG scores? That one's nerdy. I admit it. Next, find out why more divorcees are demanding that the government look into other articles written by charities who are actually just partnered with angry women looking for better divorce settlements. That's quite the scam. This is a newfound scam. I didn't realize that you could partner with the charity and tell them, hey, you make my ex-husband look bad, I'll give you a better cut of my divorce settlement. Pretty good. All right, now we got some funny ones. The Truth Minister wrote the book, How to Be a Woman Online. Will she actually share the real insight she has and write the book, How to Psychopath Your Way to the Top? A woman's guide to ensure that you're officially declared right on every topic because you have been designated the world's truth minister. And then lastly, there's a big article in the Washington Post we're about to address in a minute about global warming. So scientists are warning of ocean waters heating and cooking creatures in their own habitats. Or as Asians like to say, we're going to have turtle soup. All right, now let's look at the Washington Post article. Here we go. If humanity's greenhouse gas emissions continue to increase, according to a study released Thursday, roughly a third of all marine animals could vanish within 300 years. And I'm just going to say, I'm calling bullet. I don't think that's happening. I mean, you're going to end up looking at their model, and their model is going to be if somebody accidentally moved the Earth closer to the sun. Like if you actually brought them into Congress and you're like, so you want to explain to me how this model works, where everything's going to get cooked into the ocean, and then creatures are just going to rise to the top, and they're going to be cooked, and then we'll have good sushi for about one day, and then the entire Earth will stink, and then the only people who will be able to continue to wander the Earth are the Indians, and I mean like the real Indians because they can handle stenches that the rest of humanity couldn't. And then all of a sudden they're like, this is why we run into showering and have a bad environment. Why am I making fun of these people? I'm just being racist off the bat for no reason. I bet there's fine people in that country. I don't know why I'm picking on them. So let's get back into these scientists who are lying to us all about this global warming stuff, trying to pretend that if we don't instantly get involved in this, all the ocean waters are going to give up. And then this was from Science Tech Daily. Only the greatest source of all scientific news. I know a lot of you guys, you don't follow the science topics. So you don't realize just how on point Science Tech Daily is. Headline: Scientists warn that climate change could spark the next major pandemic. And remember how we had to lock ourselves into our homes, starve people in Shanghai, keep kids out of school, give government powers that they never had to ensure our safety? And we know the results that came from that. Well, if you thought that corona was something that we needed to protect ourselves from, you just wait until this planet gets hotter, and then all of a sudden it releases all sorts of diseases. Because you see, there's diseases that are in the very fabric of the grass, they're in the trees, they're in the oceans. And if the world just gets a little bit hotter, then the grass is gonna, it's like in the movie when all of a sudden the aliens start popping out of their containers. It's gonna be that kind of shit, but it's gonna be just new diseases, and they're gonna spring upon us. That all the chickens are gonna be dying. The avian flu, it's almost like in the Predator movie when they go, it comes in the warm summers. So it's gonna be like that, but it's gonna be new diseases. And I'll continue to focus on this, but I love, like, so you got a team of scientists. They're sitting down, the brightest. I think these were people from Princeton, and they're writing themselves a report. They're running all the math. What the fuck does could mean? What does could spark the next major? And now when I'm here and I'm talking nonsense and I say Bill Gates could be taking over the food supply, or I say, hey, there's a chance that this whole Russia war thing backfires on us and people start moving away from the US dollar. So it's true. When I say could, it's because I don't really have the resources to make a bold and firm prediction, except my accuracy on a lot of these things are pretty right. So I'm just letting you know, hey, let's keep an eye on this. This thing's interesting. Here's a risk factor that you might not have been aware of. Here's something that we're playing with that maybe people don't realize that unintended consequence exists. And so let's continue to monitor it. That's my approach. And but now you got the best scientists in the world making it seem like these things are absolutes. And then they use the word could, which is very tricky. They use the word could as if to put it in front, like, so, all right, well, if you're just saying could, I mean, fine, if the greatest team of scientists have sat down and they've just come to a could conclusion, then I guess we don't have to be that worried about it. Like, or with what degree of accuracy, or like how many steps would have to go there. And like I said, how close would the sun have to be moved to the earth? Suddenly the earth got a driver. We put someone in the driver's seat for earth and he accidentally just drives us too close to the sun. Things start getting too hot. I mean, can we get the actual details on this? And if you want to talk about good scientific reporting, you thought the corona stuff was over. You're like, Rob's yelled and said everything that you could possibly have to say about coronavirus in any capacity. Well, guess what? There's some new corona information. I'm going to read it for you guys. Here we go. This is from the Washington Post. COVID deaths no longer overwhelmingly among unvaccinated as toll on elderly grows. Experts say numbers show importance of boosters and the risk the most vulnerable still face. And I love that. Doesn't matter what the science is, still your best thing to do is to get yourself boosted. They're going to get to a point where they're going to go, hey, 95% of the deaths related to the coronavirus are kids experiencing liver failure, but the best thing to do is to get them boosted. Hey, everybody dying of this thing are old people that were going to die anyways. And, the only people that we really needed to protect with the vaccine doesn't work for. But just remember, you'll be safe as long as you get yourself boosted. I think we got to be moving past this thing because, firstly, like I know, Fauci gets up one day and he goes, the pandemic, it's over. We're not doing the pandemic anymore. We did the pandemic. The cases were high, and now we're going to move on. We're not going to do any more pandemics. We did the pandemics. Then the next day he goes, I didn't mean that. We're still doing pandemics. There's still things you got to be concerned. You can't just go out and live your life. You can't do that. We got a CDC, and we're going to continue to spend $80 billion, and they're going to do things, and then the airlines are going to ignore them. But that's what we're going to do. So they're going to continue saying that there's a pandemic, but at some point, they're not going to. Everyone's just going to be fine, and then they're going to need a truth minister to basically be pointing at breathing person to go, that guy's not really breathing. That guy died of corona 3 days ago. How do you explain him breathing? I don't need to explain him breathing. I'm a truth minister, and I've declared this person dead. So I don't even know why you're talking about this breathing person standing next to me. Truth minister, you see this title? You see this title? It says truth minister, and I've declared this guy dead. So don't talk to me about this guy who's clearly standing there, because as a truth minister, I've declared him dead, and the numbers are up. And so just go get yourself boosted. And all right, let's read the first 3 paragraphs from this article from the Washington Post, because why would you ever read more than that? Here we go. Unvaccinated people accounted for the overwhelming majority of deaths in the United States throughout much of the coronavirus pandemic. But that has changed in recent months, according to a Washington Post analysis of state and federal data. The pandemic's toll is no longer falling almost exclusively on those who chose not to get shots, with vaccine protection waning over time, and the elderly and immunocompromised who are at greater risk of succumbing to COVID-19, even if vaccinated, having a harder time dodging increasingly contagious strains. In other words, the vaccine doesn't work. Isn't it an amazing retraction from safe and effective? Which, by the way, if we're discovering the effective part's not true, maybe we should start doing a little bit of research on the safe part. But, these were things that we've been talking about for a long time, going, hey, there's going to be variants. This is not a working strategy. And here they are just casually walking back everything that they've ever said. Anyways, let's continue. The vaccinated made up 42% of fatalities in January and February during the highly contagious Omicron variant surge, compared with the 23% of the dead in September, the peak of the Delta wave. And I'll point out that this is the best they can do while fudging the numbers. We've reported to you that there was data available that they didn't make available to us. We reported the way that they were cherry picking information. They were looking at data series from like the original strains. They were looking at things from before people were even vaccinated. They clearly didn't do the analysis that you could clearly see how things were and weren't working, which we're going to see why that's such a problem in a second. But this is the best that they can do with the data. This is the best that they can do in terms of trying to present it, is now admit that at least 42% of deaths are in vaccinated individuals. And now you've got all these studies, not studies, but you got reports, and I don't know the levels of it. Could just be fear mongering. It could just be, like a headline, but they're talking about increases in hepatitis cases in kids. And, I know there's scientists out there that just says it's because Hunter Biden's really been out there fucking a lot of kids. And I know that, but the math doesn't add up. Like, I don't have all the numbers on how many people are getting hepatitis, but the amount of people that Hunter Biden's putting his day, it doesn't correlate. So there's got to be something else. And so if you start wondering, you start looking at the world and you go, what could be different now than a year or 2 or 10 years ago, that all of a sudden, I don't have all the numbers in front of me. Maybe this is just reporting, but if there's suddenly a huge increase in hepatitis, so I would think, some people would go, oh, it must be all these kids with corona. That's the long corona, that even though they were cured of the corona, they must be getting hepatitis. But what would be really interesting to look at is most of these hepatitis in cases of kids that were vaccinated. I would think that would just be an interesting study. At a minimum, you could come forward and go, hey, we did the study, and we know that a lot of people are going to think it was the vaccine, but, there's no correlation here. And I would think that's probably pretty easy. Kids come in, you ask them if they're vaccinated. If all of a sudden you're seeing all the hepatitis cases are in kids that were vaccinated, and then you haven't heard of any cases of kids that weren't vaccinated, you might have a storyline there. All right, so here, let's read. This is from Local 2. Once again, we're pulling from the finest scientific sources here. Dr. Schlachendacher. Yeah, that you're dealing with some fucking Nazi when he's got a name like Schlachendacher. All right, so his team at Cincinnati Children's Hospital is associated with the World Society for Pediatric Infectious Disease. They've also been on the lookout for what's been a question. By the way, it's not that I'm illiterate; it's that I don't wear glasses and the things on the wall. Well, we'll fix that at some point. I'll get glasses. I'll admit to the fact that I'm a nerd and that I can't see. Such as the United Kingdom, could there be a connection to the coronavirus? In Europe, for example, some of the children with hepatitis tested positive for both SARS-CoV-2 and adenovirus. But Dr. Schlacher says for now, they're not completely sure if those are related to the cases of hepatitis or if they just happen to be circulating at the same time, said Dr. Schluchendacher. The other question that has come up is, could there be a connection between the COVID-19 vaccine and these rare cases of hepatitis in children? I think at this point, a lot of these children aren't even in the range where they would have been able to receive a vaccine. So at this point, there does not seem to be any connection with the previous vaccination. No, it's okay. I guess what you're saying, they're not in the range. So, I mean, that's just a weird word. What does that mean that they're not in the range? Does that mean that they're under the age of maybe 3 or 5 where they weren't advising that they get the vaccine? Or you're saying that since the recommendation, I would think that this one's an easy one to track. It's very easy. Kid comes in. All right, you got this liver thing. Let me ask, did you by chance get the coronavirus vaccine? All of a sudden, you got 15 of these kids, check, and you're calling up the CDC going, hey, I think we got an issue here. And you would think, as they didn't quite run long-term studies on this, and we are doing the live experiment, that anything that would come up, such as a possibility that maybe it led to hepatitis, you would just be checking. And like I said, I'm not saying that there is a correlation. I'm not even saying that the hepatitis is rampant outside of the people that Hunter's having sex with. If you had a recent exposure to Hunter Biden, that's a conversation that you should be having with your doctor. Outside of that, you got your kid vaccinated. Am I saying that your kid's going to get some hepatitis? I wouldn't know. All I'm saying is that it would seem like it would be very easy to make a certain distinction. All right. Did I have anything else on the corona? Nope, I didn't. All right. Let's see what we got going on in the comments. Richard Sager coming through. Hell yeah. First time catching the show live. What's up, Richard Sager? Welcome to live show. Key value. Same LOL. It's not easy, but we did it. I don't know what that was in reference to, but thank you. Cole Warren. I swear the only thing less regular than we brief is the period of a woman with 2 boosters. Sorry, buddy. I think you've been shot down, or do you just go for it? You've just been going for it, and now you're dealing with like a permanently dyed pink dick because of all the blood you've got on it. Cole, is that what you've been trying to tell us? Are you trying to get this off your chest? Because I do like Run Your Mouth to be an open and safe space where you can say anything in the comments and then I'll read it. Marianne Brandon, catching a live Robbie stream is like catching a leprechaun. That is true. Doesn't happen that often at Cole Warren. Throwing the laughs from Marion. All right. So now we've got our new truth minister. And you would think if you're going to engage in such a hot topic as saying, listen, Twitter, we don't have control over that anymore. We're going to need full-scale censorship. We're going to need a ministry of people looking at misinformation. You'd want someone that had an entirely free record of not looking like a psychopath. You wouldn't want someone with any shred of evidence that they're a psychopath, that they've gotten shit wrong, that they've already been online talking about how laptops are just Russian misinformation. Someone had commented to me that she also, I think, worked maybe as a Facebook fact checker, but I haven't fact checked that. So I'm not going to claim that to be true. I'm not going to claim to be some truth czar just with all the facts, unless they're actually credited, verified, unless the Run Your Mouth team of experts have sat down, analyzed them, put them through regressions, statistical analysis, figured everything out, verified it. Run Your Mouth verified true. Truth scores from the Run Your Mouth team coming at you soon. All right. So anyways, you'd think they'd pick someone who they could put up there and everyone go, oh yeah, this person's pretty well credentialed and comes off as normal. And so just if you guys haven't already seen this, to expose you to this new worldwide expert in truth, Fauci. He's been Dr. Truth Science for a little bit, and we've realized that having one single individual who can make clarifications on what's true and what isn't is clearly an efficient route towards a better future. One person just makes a determination that everyone knows. All right, so here, let's find out who our truth expert is. Here we go.
Wandering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes
even YouTube doesn't like this.
Sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared that intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain, they're laundering disinfo, and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice or vote. Oh, information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origin seems slightly less atrocious.
And as you know, Biden destroys the supply lines and gears up to starving the world population to death. I think we should get all of our news this way. I mean, what would be better than some singing lady just doing musical parodies of all the bad news? If we're going to go down, this is the way I'd like to go down, is just with nice little musicals, cheerful. I hope that they make a weekly conference instead of Jem Psaki. And when they decide what's truth, this is the way that they deliver it to us. They come out and they go, listen, here's what we're officially clarifying as truth. And they could sing about how the planet's getting warm, how you can't have electricity, how the food delivery might come into your town in a week from now. Then they could tell you about how evil Putin is. They could tell you about how Fox News actually works for Putin. Think about the musicals we could be having coming for us. And I'll just say, I mean, after watching her sing, the last thing I want to do is it being on tape singing. Like, I mean, obviously, you wouldn't want these things resurfacing and people realizing just how bad you are at singing. But I think that maybe this could be the new wave of the future. You get one singing truth minister. Maybe this could be, we could have musical debates where we take the information that we want to portray to other people, and then we have singing dance-offs that's all TikTok compatible so that these kids, they can get their information, because that's the only way anyone can digest information, is if some psychopath is singing it through the lens of a Disney musical. And so here, I wrote some other Mary Poppins tunes. You know, just from the other's perspective. So instead of your super cabal blah 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 locious, I wrote super boosted vaccinated not working, Fauci's atrocious, or just a spoonful of government propaganda helps the vaccines go down, the healthy soccer players go down, kids testing scores in the economy go down, or chimchimery, supply lines are failing. Perhaps we shouldn't have pushed Putin into invading. Chimchimery, chimchimaroo. If we leave Biden in office, we're going to run out of food. There you go. More musical parodies coming at you. And so if you're wondering what it is that this Nina Jackowakowicz, what did she do that we're going to elect her as being our truth minister? The one person who will make determinations about what is truth and what is false. You would think, I mean, for someone to become a truth minister, like I would get it. Like if you were going to have like a physics and you're going to have one person who's going to be your authority for physics, you'd pick like an Einstein. You'd be like, holy shit, what Einstein has accomplished here. Or imagine if someone actually came forward and proved that the world was flat and like the CIA actually worked for China. You would go, my God, what this person's able to figure out. We were all blinded. Or imagine if someone solved that we were actually in the Matrix. They literally sat down and they figured out a code, and then they figured out how to hack the code so that we were all really wealthy and getting our dicks sucked on Tuesdays. Imagine if they figured out how to hack the Matrix that we could all live more. We'd be like, we should just put this guy in charge of truth. Think about what you would have to have solved for the human race for us to come forward and go, you know what? From now on, we were wrong on everything, and so this guy is going to be our truth person. So in this case, this lady wrote How to Be a Woman Online. If you can't see the cover, she basically put it in period blood red to remind you, you know, you're a lady. And so you're going to have to deal with your emotions. But, you know, I got a book and it's going to help you out. And I love that she got into a government position of being in charge of truth on the basis that she wrote a simple guidebook that nobody needs. I could write how to walk outdoors, how to be on a hike, how to not get killed by your neighbors. Before this lady wrote the book of How to Be a Woman Online, were people just dropping off in droves? Were women just dying? They were just going on the internet, and then they looked like dead cattle in the street, like there was a plague. Women were just going online. Like, and also, I'd love to know, did anyone even read this fucking book? Is there one person whose life was even helped by reading this book that all of a sudden this credentials somebody for being the truth minister? What is your contribution to humanity that all of a sudden you're going to be the one person that we're like, all right, we're going to listen to this lady. We're going to let her make all of the calls. All right. And so this was from The Hill. It was an opinion piece, but we're going to read it. She has been ridiculed for pushing the false Russian disinformation claim about the original reporting on Hunter Biden's infamous laptop, stressing that we should view it as a Trump campaign product. She continued to spread that disinformation, including tweeting a link to a news article that she said cast yet more doubt on the provenance of the New York Post Hunter Biden story. In another related tweet, she added that emails don't need to be altered to be a part of an influence campaign. Voters deserve the context, not a fairy tale about a laptop repair shop. Conversely, she cited Christopher Steele, author of the discredited Steele dossier, during the 2016 presidential campaign as a source on how to stop information. So it already sounds to me like she's gotten the biggest stories wrong. So let's take a step back and understand that there was censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop. They claimed that it was Russian misinformation, that nobody should report on it. The New York Post was taken off of Twitter. The New York Post, I think the third largest newspaper in the country, they were taken off of Twitter because they've got this storyline about how Hunter Biden, his laptop ended up in the repair shop. And we've got storylines in there. We got storylines about how perhaps the kid's Hunter's a pedophile. We got stories about him having a big hog. I mean, that one's in their credit. No one's going to get upset at them and look down at the Bidens for having big hogs. That we can all respect. But we got Tony Bobolinsky, which we talk about the worst name for someone coming forward to like blow the whistle on truth. It just sounds like a made up character who's full of shit. But you got Bobolinskys. You got monies coming in from Ukraine. You got a bombshell. I think they call them October surprises, but surprise just before the election probably changes the whole thing. Lets everyone know how evil these Biden people are. The fact that they're going to destroy our supply lines and that we're going to run out of food. And so they take that off the internet. They tell, even in the debates, they go, hey, that's Russian misinformation. You can't be bringing that thing up. And then it turned out to be true. And so now this lady who has already been on the record as being on the side of, hey, the Hunter Biden story, that's Russian misinformation. So this is clear. This is clearly censorship. You don't even have a person that you could pretend. Like, imagine if they found some college professor who I guess like actually maybe had some sort of like mastery in this topic, but no track record of very clearly aligning themselves with the left and what the tech censorship has been thus far. You're not even trying. You haven't even found someone with a perfect record. That just shows how much they really care. I mean, care in terms of even trying to pretend like they're honest actors. You know what I mean? This is very clearly a play for propaganda and censorship. They understand that without the internet, with us being able to just get true and honest information, most of us will just realize that they're lying. And so they can't have that anymore. And we don't know, are they going to pull this thing off? Is there going to actually be some truth ministry that we're all going to be subject to? Or is the SEC or the FCC going to take control of the internet? Will be like the Howard Stern, where everything's getting censored. It gets filtered through them. It could happen. I'm not saying it seems like there's probably enough backlash right now and enough people like me that are just like, no, this can't happen. But isn't it incredible that they couldn't even put somebody up with a clean track record? That they've clearly put somebody up who's on the side of propaganda and government censorship. It's a nice title, though. I guess the truth minister, is that the title, or am I being, or they don't say gay billing me right now? And then of course, Jen Psaki comes through with a good line. It sounds like the objective of the board is to prevent disinformation and misinformation from traveling around the country in a range of communities. White House press secretary Jen Psaki said in response to Republican criticism of the board during a daily press briefing. Here's the fun line. I'm not sure who would oppose that effort. Right, because you're qualifying truth as being misinformation. So I guess it's true. If there was some rampant issue where people were putting out that if you take a knife and you slice your wrist at the right angles, gold's going to pour out of it. Cures for diseases are going to pour out of it. And then you'll be able to live a better life. And all of a sudden, kids were all going around slicing their own wrist, thinking that even though they're not Jews, golds are just going to flow through their blood and onto the floor. I mean, that doesn't work unless you're Jewish. If you're Jewish, it might. But these other kids are going to get confused because they were told. And so there's such an epidemic of misinformation that what we're going to do is we're going to start pulling that stuff down so that we don't have widespread death of kids who are getting bad information online. And so who would oppose that effort? Yeah, because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that you guys lie to us. You pretend that vaccines are safe that aren't. You pretend that like you can't show up to a job and that your business needs to be closed because there's a risk of death that doesn't exist. You pretend like our kids shouldn't be in school. You pretend like laptops that expose the fact that the Biden family might actually be a crime syndicate should not be exposed to the American public. You try and create a domestic terrorism title for U.S. citizens, and get people, basically the FBI showing up and going, hey, let's go do this thing, and people are like, yeah, we really shouldn't do this thing. You go, no, here, smoke this weed and talk about how this thing is cool, and then all of a sudden you're in court talking about it. But hey, if anyone questions the fact that this is domestic terrorism, well, that's misinformation. I think that's the part that people are taking issue with. And obviously, I think this is the attitude of the entire left now. I don't think that this is just the attitude of Joe Biden. I don't think this is just, a couple individuals. I think the left as a whole has come to an understanding of the fact that they want to push things upon us, that if there's free and open information, there is no way possible that they will ever be able to reach their goal, because their goals, it would appear, it's like just socialism and death. And they're not going to convince us of these things. We're not China, where you're going to have some fucking robot flying around outside my window telling me, hey, listen, don't scream. Don't scream, because the Chinese Communist Party, it's more noble if you die with dignity. And people go, oh, yeah, I like the Chinese Communist Party. So I will die with dignity and not scream out my window. I don't think we're like that here. I don't think we're there yet. And that is what they're pushing for. And so here we've got Obama on the issue. Let's listen to Obama, the best salesman of them all. Even I listened to this guy and I was like, all right, well, it sounds reasonable when he says it.
Now, the good news is that almost all the big tech platforms now acknowledge.
Stupid internet. Just give it a second. It'll rally. All right, we'll take some comments while I wait for this to load. We got Forest Mommy. Nothing worse than a theater bitch singing all the time. That is a good call. We got Spud Ruckus. Julie Andrews rolling over in her grave. Marion Brandon. Is she still alive? If so, this probably killed her. All right, we'll take one more, and then we'll skip this video if it doesn't come through. Spud Ruckus, like a dead cattle. Keek. This went Robbie still single. I don't know what that means. And then key value. I could have said it better myself, Robbie. All right, let's move on. Obama's not coming through for us today. But you know what always comes through? Sheathunderwear.com. Promo code RYM. You get 20% off. And it's not going to let your dick and balls just hang down there. At all times, you're wearing Sheath. You're going to feel fully supported in your life endeavors. You go to sheathunderwear.com, use promo code RYM, you get 20% off. And this month only, whoever spends the most money, I think the 5 or 6 biggest spenders, going to get themselves a special edition Run Your Math hat. Very cool. And show up for Porch Tour. All sorts of dates coming at you. All right. Got a couple more topics. And then we'll call it an episode. We got a fair amount of yelling in today. I feel calm. Oh, yeah. These are a couple good tweets that people tweeted at me on this topic. This is from at JW Fox 1965. The only possible way the administration can stop Mary Poppins as the new minister of truth is to appoint Hunter Biden as the new drug czar. Might as well add as many new clowns to the circus as you can. This is from at Meow Furion. I don't know. I tried to find things about her, but it was all scrubbed from the internet because it was only shared by Russian assets like Tulsi. And then lastly, we got the interdimensional space elf. Wouldn't it be amazing if the Ministry of Truth held the governments accountable? The CIA, the FBI, Congress, and POTUS all grilled by the truth. Would be fun. Don't think that's going to be the way that it's used. All right. So real quickly, I'm going to do I want to get into this, or should I, you know what? On the basis of the fact that the internet's lagging, and I wanted to play these 2 videos of both Warren Buffett and his right-hand man, I think Charlie Munger or something. What's his other guy's name? The other old guy who's got great glasses. He's got like big old bubbly eyes that if I was sitting in office and the guy told me he looked at charts and he came to some conclusions, I'd be like, with bubbly eyes like that, I feel like you're seeing things that nobody else can see. So anyways, they attacked Bitcoin. They did. I know you're sitting there and you're like, I love Bitcoin. And so these guys, they're supposed to be the value investors, the oracles of Nebraska. They predict everything right. And so they start off by saying, well, we think it's going to fall to 0. But then they really show their card and basically declare that Bitcoin is evil because it's competing with the US dollar. And we all know the US dollar, what's inflation at now? I think it's like 8, 6, 7, 8%. I mean, if we all don't willfully contribute to the government stealing our money and also funding wars, funding all sorts of operations that we don't agree with, basically forcing us to be involved in death and murder, while also not just taxing us, but stealing our wealth through inflation, something we have no control over. And not just that, but perhaps, or not even perhaps, creating bubbles that are going to just continue to get bigger and bigger and at some point collapse and then, cause real chaos and other problems. If in any capacity we want to go, hey, I'd rather have a honest money that's not in the hands of government, that can't just be used to fund wars that I don't agree with, to steal my wealth via inflation, then according to Warren Buffett, you're evil. If you're not willfully contributing to this government system where they get to steal your money to fund wars, you're evil. I had 2 videos on that. We're going to keep it for next episode. I'm going to try and track down Guy Swan for the rebuttal. I tweeted at him. I think he has a kid en route soon or something. I remember he was telling me that's why he couldn't make it to Childa, but maybe that's next month. Anyways, we'll try and get a hold of him. If not, we can start off tomorrow's video with that. Other than that, Sub Report Store, show the fuck up, dudes. I got more coming at you. We've got ones. It's probably going to be Atlanta, Nashville, some stuff going on in Washington State, Colorado, and I got some other ones in the works. In upstate New York, somebody hit me up. A lot of things coming your way, but show up for the first one, which is going to be in Florida. Hop a flight, or if you're in the area, I know a lot of people listen in Florida. You like that freedom. You guys are living down there. Show up, bring the bath salts. Did them once. They were great. We can turn it into a bath salts evening. But that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good one.